Phyllis's last stand, Newman Empire returns to the Newmans. For years in Genoa City, one thing has remained true: whenever Phyllis Summers feels cornered, she fights back harder than anyone expects. But this time, the battle may finally be slipping out of her hands. The morning begins quietly at Crimson Lights. Customers come and go, coffee machines hum in the background, and everything appears normal. Yet behind the counter, Phyllis is carrying the weight of a decision that could change her future forever. Only days ago, she was determined to hold on to Newman Enterprises at all costs. She believed that giving up the company would mean admitting defeat to Victor Newman, something she has spent years refusing to do. But reality has started closing in around her. Legal pressure is mounting. The accusations against her continue to grow. And for the first time, even Phyllis is beginning to realize that she may not have a winning move left. As she tries to focus on work, Michael Baldwin walks into Crimson Lights. One look at Phyllis tells him everything he needs to know. She is exhausted, frustrated, and running out of options. Michael reminds her of the conversation they had before. She had practically admitted she was ready to surrender control of Newman Enterprises. Now she suddenly seems determined to keep fighting. Phyllis insists she changed her mind. But Michael isn't convinced. He knows Victor Newman better than almost anyone. He understands how dangerous it is to challenge Victor when the evidence, the legal system, and public opinion are all turning against you. Michael gently but firmly explains that continuing this war could destroy what remains of her freedom and reputation. For a moment, Phyllis says nothing. Deep down, she knows he may be right. The silence between them says more than words ever could. Eventually, Michael offers to accompany her to the Newman Ranch and negotiate a deal. It isn't the outcome Phyllis wanted, but it may be the only path left. As she prepares to leave, memories begin flooding back. This isn't the first time she's found herself fighting the Newman family. Years ago, Phyllis built her reputation by taking risks others wouldn't dare take. She survived scandals, betrayals, broken relationships, and countless battles with powerful enemies. Again and again, people underestimated her. Again and again, she proved them wrong. That history is exactly why giving up now feels impossible. Yet this situation feels different. Victor Newman isn't simply defending his company. He's protecting his legacy. And when Victor believes his legacy is under attack, he becomes more dangerous than ever. Meanwhile, across town, the Newman family is dealing with problems of its own. At the Genoa City Athletic Club, Nikki Newman is trying to hide how much stress she is carrying. The ongoing conflict has taken a toll on her health, and the headaches she has been experiencing are becoming harder to ignore. Victoria Newman notices immediately. Concerned, she reaches for her phone and suggests calling a doctor. Nikki quickly stops her. She insists that nothing is seriously wrong. According to Nikki, once the stress surrounding Newman Enterprises finally ends, the headaches will disappear. But Victoria isn't entirely convinced. She has watched her mother carry the burden of family crises for decades. Every major Newman battle leaves scars, even when those scars aren't visible. Their conversation soon turns toward Phyllis. Nikki remains skeptical that Phyllis will do the right thing. Victoria, however, sees a small possibility for hope. Maybe this conflict ending could heal more than just a business dispute. Maybe it could also repair the growing distance between Nikki and Victor. Nikki wishes she could believe that. Unfortunately, years of disappointment have made optimism difficult. Just then, Nick Newman arrives. To Victoria's surprise, he appears calmer than he has in months. His first rehabilitation session is behind him, and he seems genuinely committed to changing his life. Still, Victoria struggles to trust him. After everything that has happened, she isn't ready to believe promises alone. Nick understands her doubts. He admits he has made mistakes. He admits he has lied. But this time, he insists things are different. Whether anyone believes him remains to be seen. As the Newman family wrestles with its own uncertainty, another storm is gathering. At the Newman Ranch, Victor is preparing for a meeting that could change everything. Phyllis is on her way. Michael is by her side. And before the day is over, old enemies will sit face to face once again. But what nobody realizes is that this meeting isn't simply about returning a company. It's about revenge. It's about power. And it's about secrets that could destroy lives long after the paperwork is signed. A dangerous deal, Phyllis demands the truth. The drive to the Newman Ranch feels longer than usual. Sitting beside Michael Baldwin, Phyllis Summers stares out the window and watches Genoa City pass by. Every street seems to carry a memory. Every building reminds her of a battle she fought, a victory she earned, or a mistake she wishes she could erase. Today feels different. Today isn't about winning. It's about survival. For years, Phyllis has been one of the toughest fighters in Genoa City. She has survived scandals, betrayals, and countless attempts to push her aside. Whenever people thought she was finished, she found a way to come back stronger. But now, as the Newman Ranch comes into view, even she knows the odds have changed. Victor Newman has all the leverage. The legal pressure is real. And the future she imagined is slipping away. When they arrive, Victor is already waiting. His expression reveals nothing. As always, he looks completely in control. Beside him stands Christine Blair, representing the legal side of the conflict. Unlike Victor, Christine's concern is simple: resolving the situation without creating even more chaos. Michael understands immediately that this meeting will not be easy. Everyone takes their seats. For several seconds, nobody speaks. The silence alone feels like a battle. Finally, Victor breaks it. He asks whether Phyllis is ready to return Newman Enterprises to its rightful owners. The question irritates her instantly. To Victor, the answer seems obvious. To Phyllis, nothing about this situation is simple. She refuses to surrender without receiving something in return. Victor raises an eyebrow. He expected resistance. What he didn't expect was the demand that follows. Phyllis looks directly at him and insists that before any deal is finalized, he must admit the truth. She wants him to publicly acknowledge that the evidence used against her was manipulated. She wants him to admit that the emails connecting her to wrongdoing were never as reliable as people were led to believe. The room immediately grows tense. Michael watches carefully. Christine remains silent. Victor's expression hardens. For a moment, it appears the entire negotiation might collapse before it even begins. Phyllis continues anyway. She reminds everyone present that her reputation has been destroyed. Friends turned against her. Business opportunities disappeared. People assumed she was guilty before hearing the entire story. If Victor wants his company back, she argues, then he should be willing to correct the damage that was done. Victor doesn't answer right away. Instead, he studies her. For years, he has respected one thing about Phyllis: she never backs down easily. Even now, standing on the edge of defeat, she refuses to leave without one final fight. The tension becomes even greater when Nick Newman arrives. He walks into the room uncertain about what he will find. The last thing he expected was another confrontation between his father and Phyllis. Nick immediately senses that emotions are running high. Part of him sympathizes with Phyllis. He knows how easily Victor can manipulate situations when protecting his family. But another part of him understands why the company must return to the Newmans. The conflict places him in an impossible position. Before anyone can fully process Nick's arrival, Victoria Newman joins the meeting as well. Now the room feels even smaller. Old wounds, past betrayals, and years of complicated history are suddenly sitting together under one roof. Victoria makes her position clear. The company belongs to the Newman family. The drama has gone on long enough. It's time for everyone to move forward. Yet even Victoria can see something unusual in Phyllis. This isn't simply about money. It's about pride. It's about justice. And perhaps most importantly, it's about proving that she isn't the villain everyone believes her to be. As the discussion continues, Michael attempts to find common ground. He explains that a compromise may be possible. If Victor is willing to make certain acknowledgments and if Christine agrees to reconsider some legal actions, then perhaps everyone can walk away with something. For the first time during the meeting, Christine finally speaks. Her words surprise everyone. She admits that resolving the situation peacefully would benefit all parties involved. Dragging the conflict through endless legal battles could hurt everyone, including the Newman family. The possibility of an agreement suddenly feels real. But Victor remains the deciding factor. All eyes turn toward him. The powerful businessman slowly rises from his chair. The room falls silent once again. Victor begins speaking about loyalty, family, and responsibility. He reminds everyone that Newman Enterprises represents decades of sacrifice and hard work. Then he looks directly at Phyllis. What he says next changes everything. Victor admits that mistakes were made. Not every action taken during the conflict was perfect. Not every decision produced fair results. While it isn't the full confession Phyllis wanted, it's more than anyone expected him to give. Even Michael appears surprised. For several seconds, nobody knows how to respond. The deal that seemed impossible only hours ago is suddenly within reach. Yet something still feels unfinished. Because while everyone is focused on Newman Enterprises, another story is quietly unfolding elsewhere. A story involving Nikki's worsening condition. A story involving family secrets. And a story that could soon become far more dangerous than a corporate takeover. As the meeting approaches its conclusion, Phyllis faces the hardest decision of her life. Sign the agreement and walk away. Or continue fighting a battle she may never win. The answer will reshape Genoa City. And not everyone will be prepared for the consequences. The price of surrender. The atmosphere inside the Newman Ranch remains heavy long after Victor's unexpected statement. For several moments, nobody says a word. Phyllis Summers sits quietly, staring at the documents placed in front of her. The papers seem simple enough. A signature would end the battle over Newman Enterprises and return the company to the Newman family. But to Phyllis, those pages represent much more than a business transaction. They represent defeat. For months, she fought to protect her position. She endured accusations, public criticism, and endless pressure from powerful enemies. Through it all, she convinced herself that somehow she would find a way to come out on top. Now that moment has finally arrived. And victory isn't waiting for her. Michael Baldwin notices the conflict on her face. He understands exactly what she's feeling. This isn't about money. It's about pride. It's about proving that she wasn't wrong to fight. Yet Michael also knows that continuing the battle could destroy what remains of her future. Quietly, he reminds her that sometimes survival requires accepting an imperfect outcome. The words are difficult for Phyllis to hear. But deep down, she knows they're true. Across the room, Victor Newman watches carefully. He has spent decades negotiating with rivals, competitors, and enemies. He recognizes the moment when someone reaches the end of their options. This is that moment. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, Phyllis picks up the pen. The room becomes completely silent. Nick Newman holds his breath. Victoria Newman watches closely. Even Christine Blair appears tense. With one final glance toward Victor, Phyllis signs the agreement. Just like that, the battle is over. Newman Enterprises officially returns to the Newman family. No celebrations follow. No cheers. Only silence. Everyone understands that while the conflict may be ending, the emotional wounds will remain for a long time. Phyllis slowly pushes the documents across the table. Her expression reveals a mixture of frustration, sadness, and exhaustion. She fought until the very end. But this time, the Newmans won. As she prepares to leave, Victor surprises everyone. Instead of attacking her or claiming victory, he acknowledges her determination. He admits that very few people would have fought as hard as she did. Coming from Victor Newman, the comment carries weight. For a brief moment, mutual respect replaces hostility. But only for a moment. because neither of them is likely to forget everything that happened. Meanwhile, across town, another crisis is beginning to emerge. At the Genoa City Athletic Club, Nikki Newman is once again struggling with intense headaches. What started as occasional discomfort has become increasingly difficult to ignore. This time, however, things feel different. The pain is stronger, more persistent, and far more concerning. Victoria arrives shortly after the meeting and immediately notices that something is wrong. Nikki tries to dismiss it. She insists that stress is still the cause. After all, the battle over Newman Enterprises has consumed the family for weeks. Anyone would feel exhausted under that kind of pressure. Yet Victoria isn't convinced. Her instincts tell her that there may be more happening beneath the surface. She remembers all the years her mother spent carrying the weight of the Newman family. Every crisis, every betrayal, every loss. Nikki has always been the emotional center of the family. But even the strongest people have limits. As Nikki attempts to rest, Victoria quietly makes a decision. Whether Nikki likes it or not, a medical evaluation may soon become necessary. Back at the ranch, Nick remains behind after most of the meeting participants leave. For the first time in weeks, the company crisis appears resolved. Yet instead of feeling relieved, Nick feels uneasy. Something about the situation doesn't sit right with him. His rehabilitation journey has forced him to confront painful truths about himself. He's learning that problems don't disappear simply because people stop talking about them. And in Genoa City, buried secrets have a habit of resurfacing. Victor eventually joins him. Father and son share a rare moment of honesty. Victor expresses cautious optimism about Nick's recovery. Nick appreciates the support but admits that rebuilding trust won't happen overnight. Years of mistakes can't be erased in a single day. Victor agrees. Trust must be earned. The conversation soon shifts toward family. And that's when Victor reveals something unexpected. Recently, he has begun noticing unusual behavior from someone close to the family. Small details, minor inconsistencies, things that most people would overlook. But Victor rarely overlooks anything. His instincts tell him that someone may be hiding something important. Nick immediately becomes concerned. In the Newman family, secrets almost always lead to trouble. Victor doesn't reveal a name. Not yet. Instead, he explains that he's still gathering information. Until he knows the full truth, he doesn't want to make accusations. But one thing is certain. A new storm may already be approaching. Elsewhere, Phyllis returns home alone. The reality of what happened finally begins to sink in. The company is gone. The fight is over. And for the first time in a long while, she doesn't know what comes next. Yet as she sits quietly reflecting on everything she has lost, her phone suddenly rings. She looks at the screen. The caller surprises her. Very few people would contact her at a moment like this. Even more surprising is what the caller has to say. Within seconds, Phyllis realizes that a completely new opportunity may be emerging. An opportunity connected to old secrets, old enemies, and unfinished business from the past. Suddenly, the future doesn't seem quite as hopeless anymore. Because in Genoa City, endings rarely stay endings for long. And sometimes, the moment you lose everything is the exact moment a new chapter begins. A new beginning, a dangerous secret. Night falls over Genoa City, but for many of its residents, sleep feels impossible. The events of the day have changed everything. Newman Enterprises has returned to its rightful owners. Phyllis Summers has walked away from the fight that consumes so much of her life. And yet, beneath the surface, a new chapter is already beginning. Sitting alone in her apartment, Phyllis keeps thinking about the mysterious phone call she received after leaving the Newman Ranch. The conversation was short, but its impact was enormous. The caller claimed to possess information connected to several recent events in Genoa City, information that could expose hidden truths and completely change the balance of power among some of the city's most influential families. At first, Phyllis wanted to ignore it. After everything she had endured, the last thing she needed was another complicated battle. Yet curiosity has always been one of her greatest weaknesses. And perhaps one of her greatest strengths. The more she thinks about the call, the more convinced she becomes that this opportunity could be exactly what she needs. For years, people have underestimated her ability to recover. Maybe they are making the same mistake again. Meanwhile, at the Newman Ranch, Victor Newman remains deep in thought. Most people believe the company's return means the crisis has ended. Victor knows better. Experience has taught him that danger rarely announces itself openly. It hides in the shadows. It waits patiently. And then it strikes when nobody expects it. The unusual behavior he noticed earlier continues bothering him. Small details refuse to leave his mind. Conversations that don't add up. Actions that seem inconsistent. Secrets hidden behind carefully constructed smiles. Victor's instincts are stronger than ever. Someone close to the family is hiding something. And whatever that secret may be, it has the potential to affect everyone. Across town, Nikki Newman experiences another severe headache. This time, however, the situation becomes impossible to dismiss. The pain arrives suddenly and with greater intensity than before. Victoria is present when it happens. The concern she has been carrying for days immediately turns into alarm. Nikki tries once again to downplay the situation. She insists that stress is responsible. She argues that everything will improve now that the business conflict is over. But Victoria refuses to accept that explanation. Not anymore. For too long, Nikki has prioritized everyone else's needs above her own. For too long, she has ignored warning signs. Victoria gently but firmly tells her mother that a proper medical evaluation is no longer optional. Nikki finally realizes that resistance is pointless. Reluctantly, she agrees. The decision brings some relief to Victoria. Yet it also creates a new fear. What if the headaches are connected to something more serious? What if they have all waited too long? Back at the ranch, Nick Newman finds himself reflecting on the events of the day. His recovery journey is only beginning. For the first time in a long while, he feels hopeful about the future. But hope does not erase uncertainty. He understands that rebuilding trust with his family will require patience. The mistakes of the past cannot be undone overnight. Still, he remains committed. The determination in his eyes is something even Victor notices. Perhaps this time, Nick truly is ready to change. As the evening progresses, Victor receives information from one of his trusted sources. The report confirms what his instincts had been telling him. There is indeed a secret. A significant one. And it involves someone much closer to the family than he originally suspected. The discovery leaves Victor stunned. For a rare moment, even he struggles to hide his reaction. Years of experience have prepared him for many things. This was not one of them. The truth threatens relationships. It threatens trust. And if revealed publicly, it could create chaos throughout Genoa City. Victor immediately understands that every decision he makes from this point forward will matter. The wrong move could destroy lives. Elsewhere, Phyllis decides to meet with the mysterious contact. The meeting takes place in a quiet location away from public attention. As she listens, the pieces begin falling into place. The information is explosive. Far more important than she imagined. Suddenly, losing Newman Enterprises no longer feels like the end of her story. Instead, it feels like the beginning of something new. Something dangerous. Something powerful. For the first time all day, a smile appears on her face. Not because she has one, but because she finally sees a path forward. A path that could eventually place her back in the center of Genoa City's biggest story. As dawn approaches, the city rests unaware of what is coming. Nikki faces an uncertain medical future. Nick continues his difficult journey toward redemption. Victor prepares to confront a secret that could shake his family to its core. And Phyllis stands on the edge of a brand new mission. One chapter has ended. Another has begun. And if Genoa City's history has taught its residents anything, it is this: the truth never stays buried forever. Sooner or later, secrets rise to the surface. And when they do, nobody escapes the consequences. End of story.